Gryphon is a family-owned North American motorcycle protective apparel brand with a long history in the motorcycle industry. Gryphon offers CE Level 2 protection in the back, shoulders, and elbows. The armor is pliable to move with you for a comfortable and safe ride. Gryphon offers a wide range of products for men and women, mesh, transition, and four-season jackets in textile and leather. We offer thermal-lined riding pants, rain gear, and gloves. Gryphon is focused on style, function, and protection for our fellow riders. Check us out at www.gryphonmoto.com.
Well, hey there, everybody. Welcome back to another great episode of On the Throttle with Jacqui Van Ham and my buddy Josh. And I got to tell you, Josh, that Benelli spot makes me want to go ride. They do such a good job with that. I think every time I see it, I'm like ready to go have an adventure somewhere. Speaking of, did you have any adventures this weekend, Josh? Where did you go riding?
Yes, we went out to the middle of nowhere as normal and got as far away from everyone as we could with the people that I have things in common with. So life was definitely good. How about you?
You had some separate togetherness. Good
Correct.
job out there. Good job out there, Josh. It was a great week. I had the good fortune of going up to the big headquarters up in northern Ohio in Akron, and then we went downtown Cleveland to the Crawford Auto and Aviation Museum with the team here at MPN, and we shot some great video. They've got a wonderful motorcycle exhibit going on. They're renovating their car area. That'll be open in like another month or so. Anyway, if you have not been to the Crawford Auto and Aviation Museum, you need to be putting that on your list out there. Again, that is in downtown Cleveland, and it is absolutely wonderful. For any bike, car, transportation nerd, that should be on your list. Speaking of lists, Josh, we have got so much exciting news going on. I have got a huge spicy meatball of a story from the folks over at Harley-Davidson going head to head with the Federal Trade Commission, and it is absolutely breaking news, beep, 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 and it is very spicy. Stay tuned. You are not going to want to miss it. And I've got a little bit of talk from the folks over at Triumph as well. Josh, what do you have going on in your neck of the woods?
So I figured out ways that if I win the lottery, I mean, I'd have to play first, but I figured out a couple of ways to spend that money. One of them is European. Another one is Canadian, eh? And we did the Canadian accents ahead of the show, so we're not going to go into that. But I'll talk about how to spend my lottery winnings today.
It's a show about motorcycles.
Correct.
We're rolling super international style here with our Canadian, European, British, and some American news going on. So let's go ahead and jump right on in to my very first story. As mentioned, it is indeed super spicy and very interesting, Josh, because I don't know how many times you have heard from people that want to either put a different exhaust on their bike. I know I go to dealerships with frequency, so this conversation is at the top list of everybody's lists, because forever and ever now, it seems like, Josh, that if you wanted to like put an aftermarket exhaust on your bike, this'll void the warranty phrase gets thrown about like hot and heavy.
Right.
It is just completely bizarro to me that you like cannot put an exhaust on your bike without voiding this warranty. Well, the folks at the Federal Trade Commission totally agree, because they put the slap down on Harley-Davidson and another company called Westinghouse just this past week for that exact same idea. They are upset about the consumer's lack of the right to repair their machines. I think that this is super important news. The folks over in aftermarket parts land are over the moon about this. Consumers should equally be just as pumped, because this also has everything to do with another phrase that gets thrown around a lot at dealerships and talking to new motorcycle owners, and that is the price of doing things at the dealership. You know, if you need to get an oil change and you want to keep your warranty, it has to go to the dealership. You have to pay those prices. Well, not everybody agrees with that, and some people are perfectly capable of having doing these types of repairs on their own. So I'm just going to go ahead and read it to you because it is just, like I said, just hot off the presses. This is straight from the FTC.gov. There is no spin on this. This is Harley-Davidson and FTC takes action against Harley-Davidson and Westinghouse for illegally restricting consumers' right to repair. The agency orders require companies to fix warranties, come clean with customers, and compete fairly with independent repairers. Consumers deserve choices when it comes to repairing their products, and independent dealers deserve a chance to compete, said Samuel Levine, director of the FTC's Bureau of Consumer Protection. These orders require Harley and Westinghouse to fix their warranties, come clean with consumers, and ensure fair competition with independent providers. Other companies that squelch consumers' right to repair should take notice. Woo! Shots fired from the FTC aimed directly at Harley-Davidson. Oh my goodness. I cannot tell you like how big of a deal this is. I don't know if you watching out there, any of you guys, feel free to throw it in the comments whether you've put aftermarket parts and accessories on your bikes or not, because this is a huge dollar amount. This is a huge industry that has been it's been existing anyway. It's been living and doing its thing for the past 50 or 60 years, that we've been doing shields and seats and exhausts, and now it is this huge multi-billion dollar industry, but yet it still is going to void the warranty. Like, these things just have not made sense to me for as long as I have been in motorcycling. What do you think out there? Go ahead and stick it in the comments. The one last thing that I did want to bring up, and this is how this whole thing even came to my attention, is because I received a press release from the folks over at Vance and Hines. Vance and Hines
Right.
obviously have a lot of skin in this game because this is what they do, is exhaust for OEMs and aftermarket exhausts for bikes. This is their bread and butter. This is their whole thing. So this, I'm sure, absolutely sent them over the moon. Quote from Mike Kennedy, president and CEO of Vance and Hines: "This action taken by the FTC is a huge win for motorcycle riders. While we still need to see how this plays out, we anticipate that riders will have more choices in how they repair and update their motorcycles during the warranty period, which is clearly a big deal for companies in the motorcycle aftermarket too. I hope that it will void your warranty threat for someone who just wants a better sounding or smoothing running Harley is a thing of the past." And I am here to say, heck yes, I think that this is so exciting. Again, I'm super caught up in this because I do work in this space. I mean, I am all motorcycles all the time, right, Josh? I do go to dealerships. I do
Just a little
talk to
bit.
them about aftermarket parts. I love custom bikes. So the fact that all of these things have kind of been, like bumping up against each other for all these many years, to me has just been
Right.
so completely bizarre. Josh, what do you think about this?
So I've actually got a long history of doing some research into the Magnuson-Moss Act, and it actually went into effect in January of 1975. And it started in the automotive side of things. And obviously they're just now catching up to it only 40 some odd years later here in the motorcycles world of things. And really what that states is that if a warranty claim is going to be denied because of an aftermarket item, it is it's the onus of the guarantor, I mean the manufacturer, to prove that it was the aftermarket part that caused that failure. So that is the big part of it. So if you put an aftermarket exhaust on your bike and your swing arm bearings go bad, guess what? Unless they can prove that it was the added horsepower that the exhaust made that shredded your swing arm bearings, it's on them. The problem is the motorcycle companies have had enough power where they've been able to just deny. And what are you going to do about it other than take them to court? And they've got the big lawyers. Harley's obviously taken a stand on this. There's a bunch of other companies. John Deere has kind of taken the Harley route with this, and you can draw a lot of parallels between them.
Another American tractor manufacturer. Bravo, Josh.
Correct. So there's those parallels. The other thing that I find interesting with it, though, is you have companies that go the exact opposite route. Yamaha, if you can show that you've used Yamalube for every oil change in those engines, they will replace that engine for the life of the motorcycle. So there's a balance there where, hey, if you use their parts, there's a benefit to it. there's other companies that are using it as a warranty denial tool, as kind of Harley was. Something else that I found interesting too, I read the FTC release also. Any violation of this in the future, the FTC can go after Harley for $46,517. Those $17 are important. So this is one where, I mean, Harley is testing their customer loyalty here, and the government has stepped in and said, no, you don't.
Yeah, I think it's just really fascinating. The entire thing is up at ftc.gov. It is incredibly interesting
Yep.
reading. Again, the enforcement actions are to prohibit further violations, which is, again, that $46,000+ slap on the wrist, recognize consumers' right to repair, come clean with consumers, and alert dealers to compete fairly. The last thing I do want to touch on this, and I don't know if you're aware of this, Josh, but look, forever and ever and ever now at dealerships, this is what's been going on.
Yep.
You buy your bike, you yank the stock pipe off, you put the pipe that you really want on it. You take the stock pipe back to your garage and hang it on the wall. If heaven forbid something happens to your bike, you take the old pipe off, or you take the shiny aftermarket pipe off, you put the stock pipe on, and then you take it to the dealership for a repair. Everybody knows that this is exactly what consumers have been doing. This is how it's been working. And I think it's just complete lunacy that has had to be that way. So this is a step in the right direction. I, for
Yep.
one, am incredibly excited about it. And I'm really curious to see where this goes. And I'm super stoked to bring this to our show, because I don't think, it's kind of not very sexy news from the FTC. So I don't know if it's going to, I have hardly seen it spread around any of the websites. Again, I was made alert to it because it came to me directly from a press release. So I am here to spread the good word, my friends, and let everybody know loud pipes are for everybody. And with that, what's your first story for today, Josh?
So, Jacqui, I mean, you know me. If I had, if someone was going to release a dream bike for me, you could kind of have an idea of what it would be. And if the booth wants to go ahead and put up this slide, yeah, oh yeah, I mean, see this, oh my God, is it? When I saw this article, I sat there at my desk for 20 minutes drooling like Homer Simpson seeing a donut. So KTM is releasing their 450 Rally Replica. This is essentially a customer Dakar bike. Oh my God, I saw this and just, so this takes their ready-to-race philosophy to a completely new level. It is 450cc wrapped in a steel trellis frame that is optimized with outstanding flex characteristics, as KTM puts it. It uses the WP Exact Pro closed cartridge forks, the WP Exact Pro rear shock. It uses a Pankel Systems gearbox. And if you are not familiar with Pankel Systems gearbox, that's because no one on the planet except for high-dollar race teams can afford them. It is a wide ratio gearbox. It is about as durable as you're ever going to find. So just amazing components in this. It has 300 millimeter front single rotor, 240 in the rear. This will hold 8.7 gallons or 33 liters for those of you that like the metric system like me, of fuel in it. So that way you can go out and keep going and keep going. 306 pounds dry is all this bad boy weighs, which is absolutely insane. 12.3 inches of front ground clearance, 12 inches of front suspension travel, 11.8 of rear travel. Jacqui, get out your step ladder. This has a 37.8 inch seat height. So this is not a flat foot bike, let's call it. I have the sad news on this though. Only 80 of these are going to be made, and from the time that I saw this article to this evening when we're talking about it, I'm pretty sure all 80 are spoken for. And these are the people that I'm jealous of, because this bike out of the showroom floor is $30,987. kind of why, like I said at the top of the show, why I'd I need to win the lottery for this. On top of it, though, in addition, much the way Ferrari does some things, the service and support package can be sold separately. So if you plan on running this at Dakar, you can go ahead and do that. So I don't know, Jacqui. I'd like to put one in the garage, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this orange and white creamsicle beauty, I don't blame you. It's absolutely gorgeous. But again, boo on the tall seat height. And Josh, you would need a step ladder too. I don't even know who
I
we're
would.
trying to play with. Yeah, let's not play
No, I
games
would.
here. You would need a step ladder also. And most people actually would need a step ladder for this. But that's the point of these bikes. This is literally a form, follow, function type machine.
Yep.
It is meant to go over great big rocks and things. That's what it is 100% designed and built for. $30,000 dirt bike.
Yeah, I mean, I want it. And I mean, like I said, you can totally see, even just looking at these pictures, why I just sat there drooling for 10 minutes. I was speechless.
Yeah.
I mean,
No, it's super cool. I love that they're jumping on in there.
Yep.
I think it's a really neat, cool thing. And you're right. I'm sure it sold like hotcakes, and I'm sure it is gone. Daddy gone. I'm certain it's been snapped up, but it is very, very beautiful. You better start getting those scratchers like right now, Josh. Like just get on in it. Just start making it a stop on your way home. Grab yourself, a good Slurpee and some scratchers, and like let's get you this sweet KTM.
Yeah, I'll work on that. Thank you.
I'm excited to see what your second bike in your ultimate fantasy garage is for today, Josh. But my second story for today, something that's a little bit more down to earth. The folks over at Triumph Motorcycles have announced that they purchased an e-bike company called OSET. If you've not heard of OSET, don't feel bad. This is a quite small, very boutique brand making small bikes for small humans, and that is kids. That's right. Triumph Motorcycles went ahead and purchased this company very, very recently. This company was founded in the 2000s. This is just a really neat, cool thing because, again, OSET began in 2004 when it was founded by Ian Smith, whose son Oliver wanted to ride dirt bikes. Ian decided, why not build one himself? And the result of that was OSET, who have now sold over 40,000 bikes worldwide. So this is a bit of a boutique thing, but still a neat, cool thing. I love this this trials style going on here. Triumph Motorcycle, though, jumping in, and here's what's going to actually happen with it. They're still going to produce motorcycles. OSET is going to be its own separate brand. It just happens to be under the Triumph umbrella. However, their story is going to be that they are going to work together in partnership on building a bike. So this is where things get really interesting for me, because now, as you can see, there's obviously like heading into some trials, maybe heading into some motocrossers, much like the elusive unicorn Ricky Carmichael's backed motocrosser that Triumph has been talking about for a handful of years. Now they're even making more noise about being in this space. Although this is a bike that actually exists, so it's not a unicorn, it's real. So yes, they've already entered with this machine, but now I'm extra curious to see what they come up with, because it's going to be an e-bike platform and potentially a motocrosser. Is this the bike Ricky Carmichael's been talking about when he says, like, this thing has been so incredibly awesome to ride and yet nobody has ever seen it? Is this the bike? Has it been an e-bike this whole time? Have we all been like completely smoked and mirrored and we didn't know that it was going to be an e-bike? Josh, what do you think?
So it's funny. I mean, first off, I've known OSET just for a little while because obviously I love trials. And as soon as I saw and we both love the E stuff. So for me, seeing them, yes. It's funny that you ask those questions, because as I was looking at the press release from Triumph and stuff like that, and I see this, yes, we're more with the off-road stuff. And I'm like, really? Are you? Really? Because we haven't seen anything yet. You've talked a lot about it, but I mean, you've given us the same responses I used to give my dad and mom about homework. Yeah. I'll get to it. It's done.
You'll see it. I'll show it to you. Sure.
Best project ever. So, but this to me, I see this as a neat partnership, because they do very different things. And for them to say, hey, look, what do you got for knowledge on this? What do you got for knowledge on that? When you look at the trials bikes from OSET, they're actually kind of spindly looking, which is interesting how they've made something that small, that strong. So I think this could be a meeting of the minds. But once again, I need to see something because Triumph has been a huge tease.
Yes, I know, right? And then here's the thing: is there is precedent for this. Motorcycle companies have been purchasing other motorcycle companies
Yep.
literally since the first motorcycle company was founded 120 some odd years ago. So there is precedent for this. This is not unheard of. This is normal business. More recently, however, with e-bikes becoming more and more and more of a thing, we've already seen companies like Harley-Davidson attempting to purchase, but then killing the West Coast based company
Yep.
Alta a handful of years ago, and then that all kind of went into they backed away from the agreement, and then Alta folded. Well, don't feel bad because Alta eventually ended up getting actually snapped up by the folks at Can-Am. Also, the folks at Bramo were purchased by Polaris, Polaris being the parent company of Victory Motorcycles, who did take some of those parts off the shelves of Bramo and release an e-bike back in the day that literally sold none of. And then Victory went away, and so now technically Indian has the rights to possibly utilize this Bramo, now 10-year-old technology. But again, where is it?
Yeah.
Why would you purchase these companies to do nothing with unless they're just sitting on this information and are waiting to come to the table with it? I am curious, speaking of, why Indian hasn't gone into this yet. Like, even Harley Davidson beat him to the punch with Livewire, and everybody now is making an e-bike. Where's Indian's version of the e-bike? Anyway, that's a totally different conversation. The other part of today's story, which is why Norton is on your screen, however, is the fact that the UK is releasing funds and is giving away all of these grants, all of these monies, all of this incentive for companies to get into the EV program. So I find it extra curious that Norton made this announcement very, very recently. Triumph just made this announcement that they purchased OSET and are going to be getting into this space. Oh, and there happens to be a bunch of cash on the table from the British government. Super weird, right? Super, super weird coincidence. I do think it's interesting. We'll get more into the Norton story. I just wanted to briefly touch on it. It is really exciting. This is their new headquarters. Look at this stunning building. Their new purchase from the company TVS, which has incredibly huge deep pockets, are the ones that are bankrolling all of this headquarters research and development and current production, and the EV research and development as well. So I'm very curious to see what comes of that story, because I think Norton will be releasing electric bikes possibly
Agreed.
before Triumph, at the rate that Triumph is, keeping things secret. Anyway, who
Ouch.
knows? I know, who knows? Just a little bit of shade on the folks over at Triumph. It's only because I'm completely dying to see what they come up with. Now, what is your second story for today, Josh?
So
and if anybody at Triumph is watching, call me. Let me know. Like, I won't tell anybody. I'll keep it a secret. I don't talk to people. I don't talk motorcycles.
No, if they it's going not talking to people, they'd be better off telling me. You're around people all the time. I like I said, I ride out in the middle of nowhere. You ride
It's
towards
true.
the people, I ride away from them. I am coming back over on this side of the pond again,
Okay.
to the Canadian stuff, eh? And don't go on the Aboot thing again because we already did that. So
Sorry.
Damon Motorcycles announces that production is scheduled to start at the beginning of 2023, and they are on schedule to meet that. So they have a 100,000 square foot facility in Surrey, BC, Canada. They are making their Hypersport and Hyperfighter motorcycles there. This is the Hypersport. Now, the claims to fame with this is obviously this is an e-bike. This is 200-mile range. They're touting very close to 200 miles per hour. The two 200 numbers there to me are kind of mind-boggling with this. I am excited to see this. I am excited to see how this comes to fruition, and I am excited to see the innovations that they make in order to make those things happen. On top of this, they have a ton of other tech that they've thrown in the bike. So they've gone much the route of like a Tesla in terms of putting a new rear view camera on it, so that way there's no mirrors. They also are putting haptic feedback into the handlebars. So if there is a car in your blind spot on the right, instead of a lot of cars will flash something in the rearview mirror, this bike will actually vibrate the right side handlebar a little bit, much the way your cell phone does. So kind of interesting how they're going to do some of that. The other thing that they're going to have too is adjustable ergonomics on it. The foot pegs, handlebars, windscreen, and seat will all be adjustable on the fly via their shift system. And this is all just button presses from in the cockpit. So these are the types of things that I'm excited to see. These are these technologies that they are out there, but boy, executed correctly are going to be super duper exciting and really game changing. To me, that's what some of these bikes are going to need to come out with. They need to execute well on it. And according to them, they're going to be executing in the beginning of 2023. So what are your thoughts on this, Jacqui? I mean, first off, it looks amazing, doesn't it?
Oh my gosh, yes, I am a huge Damon fan. Ever since they debuted a bike at CES of all places, that's right, not a motorcycle event, but a consumer electronics event, and won that year's Innovation Award for their incredible design. The word disruptive gets thrown around for a lot of things, and it's kind of like an eye roll, influencer, disruptive, whatever catchphrase. However, this is truly disruptive. The fact that they are thinking so far out of the box and utilizing technology in a much, much smarter way. Not only is this an e-bike, but it's a step beyond analog things like mirrors. And, I think that this is just so incredibly smart. I am really, really excited for this company. I am excited for these bikes. The being able to switch the ergos on the fly is such a why doesn't every bike do this moment? Because this, even if you had an analog version of it, why is this not easier? Why is setting up motorcycles to fit every individual body so difficult? I just don't understand it. Anyway, I am really, really excited. This photo on your screen is chef's kiss. It is everything. It is absolutely beautiful. I'm really excited to see this. And now I'm kicking myself because I was just in British Columbia last week. And if I would have known, I would have tried to somehow holler at them and go get a little sneak peek. But thank you so much for bringing this to our attention. I'm really excited to hear about development and production of these bikes because you're right. They came out, they made a huge splash. They burned down the internet like crazy.
Right.
And then it got a little quiet. So I was a little concerned about what was going on for the folks over at Damon. But I know that they did, if I remember correctly, they did have a big bootstrap. They fundraised, or not fundraised, but they raised a bunch of capital because this does not look inexpensive. This project right here, this one, this doesn't look cheap. This does not look inexpensive over here.
What's interesting about it is it'll be interesting because remember the bike that we talked about last week that was a $2,050 bike that has a 100-mile range. It'll be interesting to see. I mean, we need both of these to make the e-bike conversion because there's people like us where $2,050 is going to do 90% of what we need. But in order for everything to move forward, you need the money that comes from something like this bike. And so to me, to see both of these, I'm super glad that we're seeing the extremes. This is going to be fun. It's a fun time to be in a motorcycle.
I think it's a really fun time to be in motorcycling. Absolutely. People kind of are like, wringing their hands over it. And I'm like, no way. I am here for it. I am here for all of this development. I love everything that's going on in the e-bike space and combustion bike space. I am here for it.
You got it.
Well, some awesome stories for today, Josh.
Sure.
Thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. If you regularly watch the show, by the way, welcome back. And if you're a new time watcher, welcome to On the Throttle. This is what we do every single week. If you've missed any of our episodes, you can always go back down thread on the Facebook or over on the YouTube and watch all of our previous episodes. We have exciting stories every single week about motorcycles and power sports. So make sure you go check those out. Thanks for clicking, liking, and sharing all of these videos with your friends who love hearing about awesome things going on in motorcycling. Have a great week, everybody, and we will see you next week.